My name is Munira Hussein. I am a writer, a poet, and an author. Most of my stories are set in Marsabit, where I grew up. Of course, they have a bit of other parts of the country or the world, but that is my main setting for most of my stories. The learning process and the unlearning process are both an inspiration. The people there's such rich characters there. It's just a fantastic place to write about. There's books you read purposely for entertainment, and then there's like others you read to understand some time period in history. It's important to be learning, to be growing, to be informing yourself as much as you can, both for personal development and other reasons.
Books, we can't do without them. That's what we are here for on this channel, Conversations in Literature. So today I'd love us to talk about books, and I'd love us to talk about books from two different angles. Books from the perspective of readers, books from the perspective of writers. So to have this conversation, I've invited a writer who we can talk about books with, and she'll give me her perspective as a writer and also as a reader, because as we have been told in our previous episodes, writers start as readers. So writers can tell you about reading, and they can also tell you about writing. So my guest is a microbiologist. This is her profile. She's a microbiologist, she's a writer, she's an author, she's an editor, she's a public speaker, and she has written a number of books, 3 books. One of them is a collection of short stories, actually 2 collections of short stories. The first one was Unfit for Society. The second one was Highland Cactus. That's the second collection of short stories, but it's her most recent book. And in the middle, she published a collection of poetry called A Curve of Darkness. She has also been published in a number of anthologies featuring different writers. So one of them was When a Stranger Calls. Another one, or most recent one, is Seeing Our Sisters. And she was also one of the East African winners of the International Literary Seminars. Her name is Munira Hussein. So hi Munira.
Hi Eric.
Yes, karibu to the show.
Asante sana.
Yes. So books, eh?
Books.
So before I start, this part about the ILS is the International Literary Seminars.
Yeah.
So I saw somewhere you are the winner or you are a participant. I wasn't sure.
Of the seminars?
Yes.
No, I was a winner. One of the 3 winners. Yeah.
So what was that about?
It was a literary seminar. So we submitted short stories. 3 people from East Africa were selected. We were all Kenyans, and we went to Lamu for a writing retreat of sort. But it's also such an incredible learning experience. So we had 2 groups and two different trainers for both groups to dissect the stories, write, rewrite, just discuss the craft, So yeah, that was magical.
What was magical? Was it the learning or the setting?
The setting was, of course, magical. The learning was also really, really incredible. And of course, the people made it incredible. Like, we had a fantastic team. The teachers were really, really good. And it was just really an eye-opener to different angles of writing, and even your own writing. So I loved everything we did there.
That was 2022?
2022, December.
So 2 years later, when you evaluate,
yes,
have you noticed something different about yourself as a writer? Maybe how you perceive yourself or how you produce?
I do. I brought back a lot of notes, and it was not like notes on how to be a writer, but actually real writing experiments that we did, which was like we were given prompts in a setting, and I never considered myself someone who could write, in the moment with a prompt. But you're in a class or you're in a session, you are given a prompt to write, and it just took me through so many angles of how to start writing without the block, how to overcome the block. And yeah, those methods really help, and I use a lot of them even now to overcome whatever I consider a challenge at a certain period in my writing process.
So now let's come back to the topic that I want us to discuss. So I want us to talk about books, and you've written a number of them.
Yeah.
So before we start, maybe you can tell us something quick about your books.
I have 2 short story anthologies. I think they're both infused with a bit of poetry. So the Unfit for Society was my first book, my first short story collection. Yeah, most of my stories are set in Marsabit, where I grew up. Of course, they have a bit of other parts of the country or the world, but that is my main setting for most of my stories. So it's sort of like a peek into what goes on there, or the experiences of the lives of the people. And yeah, most of them are set in Marsabit and the north in general. They are societal, they speak about societies, religion. It's fiction, I guess with a touch of reality, as most books are. I have 1 poetry collection, A Curve of Darkness. It's poetry snippets. It's like a stanza of a poem, but a bunch of them all over the book. I feel like that was born of introspection mostly. So yeah, I love the collection so much. It's probably one of my only books that I have read more than once. So yeah.
So Marsabit, yeah?
Yes.
That's where you grew up.
Yes.
And you've said that most of your stories are set in Marsabit.
Yeah.
Does that include, before we started, you told me about some manuscripts you've worked on.
Yeah.
So this is not short stories, like a novel. Does that include that longer work?
Yes, it does.
So for you, the thing that inspires your writing is a place.
It is a place. It is the life that is there in that place. And it is the fact that I haven't so far read books. I have read small town books, and I love those very much. Small towns are really inspirational to me. I feel like there's a lot of life there. Of course, there's a lot of life in big cities too, but there's a certain character or personality that a small town has, and I don't know, maybe charm. Yeah, that small towns have, that I love so much. So, and growing up in Marsabit, I think there's that connection I have to Marsabit as a place where I was born and raised. I learned a lot of the things I learned there, of course, and then learned a lot of those things too. So the learning process and the unlearning process are both an inspiration. The people there's such rich characters there. It's just a fantastic place to write about. So I feel lucky to be able to experience that and also be able to write about it. So I'll take any chance I get to write about Marsabit.
Do you travel there frequently?
I do, not as frequently as I used to, but yeah, I go. It's home, so I go home.
I'm wondering if when you're there, when you go there, does it inspire you to write, or do you get inspired to write when you've stayed away for so long?
I feel like every time I go back, I see a new chapter or a new book, a new story, and because it's home, it is very familiar. things have changed, of course, even around the place where I grew up. So it's like the story is writing itself. I'm just going there to, copy paste, just see it in action. So I love everything that's happening there, and going home is like going to, unaenda kuchota maji, sort of, to bring back something to quench your thirst with. Yeah.
There are two definitions of a place. So a place could be the setting. A place could be the geography of it, or it could be the society.
Yes.
So what is it about Marsabit? Is it the geography?
The geography,
like how it looks?
Yes.
Or is it the society there?
It is
the people there?
It is both, but more the society. Because I feel like if you put that society anywhere else on this planet, they will still be as they are, and it will still inspire me the same way.
So you call your book Unfit for Society?
Yes.
So Unfit for Marsabit society?
It's not necessarily...
And who is unfit for society?
Exactly. So I think that's more like the character aspects. When you read the story, you do encounter a bunch of characters who are really unfit for society, for any society, not just the Marsabit society. So, yeah.
By the way, I never really... I read the book, and I remember also reviewing it. I wasn't sure right now that when I try to remember who was unfit for society. Was it the women who are the main characters?
Yeah.
Or was it the
society?
The men who are...
It depends on what story you are reading. Maybe, for example, the letter to Uncle Latif, you don't have to think about who's unfit for society in that context or in that story. But there are certain stories that have you thinking. The society looks okay as it is. It is this character that seems unfit. But then the character has a certain feeling that this society is not fit for me, sort of. So I think it depends on how you're looking at it. So, yeah.
Okay. We're going to dive into that based right from there. I wanted to ask you about reading in childhood.
Yes.
So in Marsabit. So reading in Marsabit.
Yeah.
Can you give us like a short sort of snippet into your life as a reader when you were in Marsabit as a child?
I grew up in a home with a lot of books, but a lot of religious books, and they were all written in Arabic, so I didn't have access to it. But somewhere in that bookshelf, I one time found 2 books, The Treasure Island and The River and the Source. So I remember, like, I would read and reread The River and the Source. I read The Treasure Island. I don't remember the author or much of what the story is about, but I know there was a treasure that was being sought by some kids. So that was it for a long time. And then at some point, my mom brought home some bunch of books, Njambanene and the Flying Bus, Njambanene's Pistol, Trufena the City Nurse, Trufena the Student Nurse. I'm trying to remember the content of the story, but I remember the titles mostly. So that was like a lot of my reading, but most of my childhood was actually rereading The River and the Source. And then I went to high school, and I had access to more books, mostly just borrowed from friends. I remember when we went to high school, admission letter, there was a requirement to bring a novel. I don't know if all schools did that, but we were requested to bring a novel. And I remember I bought Ben Carson's Gifted Hands. And so I read it during the orientation period in school, when like you're not studying, you don't have classes yet, so you seated in a hall, like the whole new bunch of admitted students. And so when I got to know people, I'd borrow their books, like whatever they brought along. So there was like a bunch of different books. So in that first week of being in school, I read so much fiction. And I don't know, it kept building up to whatever I have in my library now.
So, as a child, what would you say was your instinct when it comes to reading? Were you reading anything and everything, or are there certain specific types of books that you gravitated to?
I think at that point I was reading anything and everything, but if I had maybe access to a lot more books, I would be able to choose what to read and what not to. But I feel like all the stories I read were really impactful or interesting, and I didn't feel like I didn't want to read them, but had to. So whatever it is that I read, I enjoyed.
Could it be because at that age you haven't read a lot of stories?
Probably, yeah. You don't know what you want to gravitate towards. But I think you would know. Like if you're reading a book that is not enjoyable to you as a kid, you would probably feel like, oh, I don't think this is fun.
No, my question is, would there be any story that is not enjoyable? You know, as a kid, I used to read Parents Magazine because it had stories.
Yes.
And that's where I first found words like fornication, abortion, lesbianism. I didn't know what these words mean, but there were stories in those. I remember reading one about a girl who, I don't know if she had a pregnancy and she was going home or something, and she went to the matatu. She bought a boiled egg. I remember this, and it was interesting. It's a story. So I'm wondering, maybe there are no stories that are boring to kids.
Probably, that's true. Because I would read even like newspaper cuttings, and some are stories, some are just like news, and I'd still read them and not think, oh, okay. So I wasn't thinking much about if I was enjoying them. I think I was reading. That's
just
it.
Consuming.
Yeah.
And it's not all kids who are like this.
Probably.
Not all kids read, yeah?
Not all kids read.
But the kids who read are like vacuums of information. Eh?
They just suck up everything.
Yeah. So what do you think it means? Like some kids gravitate to books and then they read everything.
Yeah.
And others don't. What is it? What is it like?
I think it's just nature. It's the nature of some kids to read. Even now with technology and whatnot, there's still kids who read like crazy. They don't even care about, what other kids are watching or whatnot. They're not playing, they're reading. And others are like, even their school books, they don't want to interact with them. So I think it's just at nature. I would say it could be influence, but then
it's not influence.
I don't think it is.
Because you'll find that a kid in a family where nobody reads, one kid reads.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's just maybe writing chooses you.
And not everyone who reads ends up being a writer.
Nope. Yeah, no.
So is it like intellectual gene or something?
I don't know if I am a writer because No, I am not a writer because I read. Because I think...
You would write still?
I would write still. When I started writing, it was I have like a stapled bunch of papers of things I used to write back in the day. And of course, there's no creativity to it, but I was writing, was the point. So I think the reading sort of makes the writer better, but I don't think the reading makes the writer. I don't know. Could be wrong.
So the child reads. You're reading as a child, and you're gravitating towards all sorts of books. So at what point do you start narrowing down the books you like?
I still like a lot of the books I read. Like I used to read a lot of John Grisham, Michael Conley. Like I still love those books, but I feel like at some point I was like, I want to read broadly. I want to read books from everywhere. So I became more deliberate about the books I am buying, like who's the author, what country is this person from. So I discovered like the Middle Eastern literature, which is fantastic. They have like some great memoirs and fiction that I love so much. So I think I made a conscious choice to broaden my reading, but not like stop reading certain things and then start these others. So it's like a blend of thing. I still read John Grisham. It's entertaining, It's fast. It's something you can read in a day or two. Like, it's fast reading. And then you can also read Toni Morrison, who's like, you need to this is history, a lot of it is going back in time to certain really dark time periods. So I read for different reasons. Like, I feel like when I'm reading certain books, I also read others alongside them as sort of I don't want to. There's books you read purposely for entertainment, and then there's like others you read to understand some time period in history or a little bit about the world. All books give you that, but they're books that are dedicated to that sort of, I think. Yeah.
When it comes to reading, when you were growing up, the thing you read or you enjoyed reading was the story itself.
Yeah.
What about now?
I still like a good story. Of course, now, as I think when the writer comes into the picture as a reader, I'm like, I look a little more at the storytelling. Sometimes the sentence structures, like the creativity comes into play. But a good story is a good story, regardless. Though if it's sort of spiced up, seasoned, it would be better. But I still look for the story. I want the story.
So what makes a story good?
Good characters.
Good characters, moral characters?
Nah. It's not about morality. I think it's about building the character. If they're evil, whatever they are, they're good at it. Convince me that
they can't be bad at it.
They're good at. Well, we're all bad at sometimes even at the things we're good at.
Yeah.
But I think it's the how not relatable, but how real does it feel? Or I think I said this when we were at the Ngila's book launch. I struggled a lot with certain movies for a long time, like Flying Men, and I don't know. It was like there's something about it that doesn't feel real. Well, now I think I can sit through a movie like that. Sometimes I do fall asleep in the theater, but I think it's the make it feel real. Yeah, not too far-fetched, maybe. Or if it is, bring me along.
They call it verisimilitude.
Yes, similitude. Okay.
Verisimilitude. It's a big word.
Yeah.
It's like very similar or something. Like you make it real or close to real life.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's things like character.
Setting.
A setting.
Yeah. I think the setting is just something there's a certain book I read, and I think the first page went on and on describing the house this character was in. I'm like, okay, I know enough. There's a door, there's a wall. Okay, what now? So I think going on and on about it is also not, you plant this little scenes as you go along, but not like base an entire chapter or an entire, 3 pages about describing the location. But if it's in relation to the character, then I see it as the character unveils, then I see the setting too.
What do you think of some certain classics of Western literature, which are exactly like that?
I don't think I would enjoy it, but I sit through any book. If I pick up a book to read it, and I realize I'm not enjoying it, I'll still have to finish it.
Why?
Because it will be at the back of my mind. I'm like, oh, there's that book I didn't finish. I don't like that feeling. So I'll have to finish it. And sometimes at the end of it, you're like, okay, it was worth it. Other times you're like, oh well, but I will have to get through the book. But I do like a book that is balanced, if it's the character, the setting, everything blends well to build the story.
When writers write, and as a writer, when you're writing, are you thinking about the reader?
No, not when I'm writing in that instant. Like when I'm writing, I am writing the story as it is presenting itself. My task is to put it down. And then when I am rereading or in the process of rewriting is when I'm able to feel like this goes on far too long or this part is a bit too short. And I'm speaking now in that moment still as a writer, but towards the end of the project, I'm able to look at the work as a reader. I don't know if I wrote about this a while back, but I feel like if I want to be given a chance to read my work for the first time, and that's not possible, so what I do is let it sit for a bit, a couple of months, so that I sort of forget about it. So I'm able to read it freshly, but I do really, really wish for the opportunity to read my work as a reader, so I'm able to decide or judge if it's the kind of book I'd want to read.
So do you write for yourself as a person?
Yeah.
Like in the sense of, do you write for yourself because there's something you have to say and you want to bring it out, or do you write for a certain imagined reader or specific reader, or do you write for yourself in the sense of the reader you are, the books you wish were written but aren't written, so you write them?
I don't think so. I think it's the first one. I write because I want to write. There's a story I want to write.
There's something you want to express.
There's something I want to express. But then it could be expressed even as an essay or a non-fiction book. So then choosing to go the fiction way is, a whole different story. This is why I want to explore my creativity, entertain myself even as I write, and hope that whomever reads the book will at least like a thing or two about it. But I never, as much as I know maybe the work I'm creating is fiction for adults, I don't sit to think, what would they like to read, and then write along those lines, or what book do I want to read and haven't found, because I feel like you'll find whatever book you want to read. There's so many books out there, so it's very, unless maybe it's not in the setting you want it to be, there's billions of books, so you're bound to find something to read. But I write because I feel like I have something to say.
What do you feel is the role of books? Fiction specifically, not books, but fiction.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt that you're just doing make-believe? So these are just stories.
These are just stories.
These are just stories. So what's
That's the point.
I'm an adult writing stories. For what reason? Is there a role? Have you ever felt like there is no role? It's just stories.
It is.
You're just entertaining people?
Not really. Books are very educational in a very... I was talking to a friend recently and I was like, I feel like I love the time I spend with a book, because there's nothing popping on the screen saying, do you want to buy, I don't know, these candles, or, so it's a moment even with myself, with my mind. I'm reading a book, yes, but it's like you're building a world around this fictitious world, but you also know that a lot of fiction is real life, so it's not too far from reality. There's of course a lot of lessons to be learned. There's entertainment, and there's just that feeling of imagination. You're reading someone's imagination, and you're reading it. It's not something you're looking at, and they bring you along with it. I think there's magic in it, in how people create convincing stories that you read with such fantastic worlds. And I even think about some of those worlds sometimes. There's a book I'm reading currently by James Mishner, and the setting is just there's like rivers flowing in this fantastic forest, and I can just see it. And I'm thinking, this is fantastic image. Of course, I know there's forests with rivers and whatnot, but just the imagination they put into certain details of the story, and then be able to bring me along with it, trap me first with the story, and then carry me along to the end of the page, or to the end of the book. That's magical.
So the role of books is to create magic?
I think so. For a very large part of it. Of course, there's other things you gain from reading. The knowledge, the understanding of of course, now there's a lot of other different ways you can learn about things, but I'd still choose a book. I'm still looking for a book about it.
What's the role of this magic? Why do we need magic?
To make life bearable. Yeah.
Is life unbearable?
It is. For a lot of us, I think it is unbearable. You're here, so you have no choice but to be here and to make it worthwhile while you're here.
You say you are here?
On earth.
You say you are here as if there's another place you could be.
Maybe. Who knows? Yeah, can only dream.
What if I don't believe I'm an atheist? What if I don't believe there's another place? So I'm just here.
That's okay. You make here as good as you can make it for you.
By reading books.
I would advocate for it, but I'm hoping there's other ways you can, if you don't like reading books, there's other ways you can make being here magical for you too. You can travel. You can, watch a movie. Do whatever you need to do to make life beautiful.
I had Peter here and I was asking him about magic, because you've talked about magic. It's magical.
Yeah.
I also want to know, for you,
what is magical for me?
You've told me what's magical, but how do you create the magic as a writer?
As a writer, I think there's a lot of magic even in the mundane, like daily life. It could be just the catching a sunset, and then putting the experience in writing. So there's little daily, everyday things that you see around you that maybe ordinarily someone wouldn't pay attention to, but if you put it down and I'm reading a book, I can see the magic of it. Could be a river or a tree. So just capture what feels magical and put it on paper. Well, of course, among other things.
Well, the book could be, instead of magical, it could be sad.
Yeah.
Or is sadness magical?
Sadness is, I think, all the feelings that we feel have
magic.
A certain, I don't know if it is magic, but they do something for your soul. They do something for you, for your being. So I don't hate sadness as much. I don't hate, there isn't a feeling I hate or would rather not feel. If it's here, it's here. I'm sure there's a reason why I'm feeling it. So,
So good writing is about the feelings.
It's about the feelings. It's about everything.
No, I mean in the sense that...
Yes.
Yes? I didn't say anything.
Yeah, in the sense that I think I've talked about like the visual aspect of creating what you can see and put on paper, but it's also what you can feel, because it's not just about the tree, for example, or just about the sunset, but it's what you feel while you're looking at the sunset. Or if you're feeling a sadness, it is a human emotion, so there's a reason why you're feeling the sadness you're feeling, right?
So basically fiction, literature.
Yeah.
Because it's also poetry. So literature is, I use the word canister too much, but let me use it. It's a canister or a container of feelings which we store, which we can then retrieve at will.
Yeah.
So if you have, and experiences are about subjectiveness, yeah. And there's this idea that each of us live in a different world, based on our perceptions, based on our feelings. Like even here we are sitting together, but how you are receiving this is not how I'm receiving this.
Okay.
So I could leave this and say, oh, that was such a fantastic feeling.
Yes.
And then maybe you're shy and you could say, oh, that was so devastating.
Yeah.
Same experience, but different perception. So the only way you can capture your perception is expressing it, and me expressing it. So if you didn't express it and I didn't express it, nobody would know.
True.
But if you express it, it's like you've created if you express it in writing, in a story or whatever, it's like you've created a container that captures whatever happened here, and then somebody else will read it and they will relate with it, not because they've had the exact same experience, but maybe they've had that experience in an interview, job interview, or something else, first day of school, something. For me, if it was exciting, somebody else will read it and they'll be like, oh, this reminds me of when I first had a hamburger. It was exhilarating. And maybe that's what literature is about, the recognition you get when you read a book, and you recognize the feelings there.
Or aspects of your experiences or what you felt, and the book could be written like halfway across the world, but you're reading it and you're like, I so relate to this character, or I so relate to this feeling. So it's also that feeling of someone else understanding you or understanding your experience. And I feel like it's also opening you up to new experiences that are not yours. You're like, I never thought people could feel like this, or I never thought people went through this. So then you become more empathetic, in my opinion, because you realize just how much there is outside of your boundaries or your borders. And, you know, you're like, there's a lot of world, there's a lot of life, there's a lot of like experiences out there. And you walk around seeing everyone differently, in a good way, in an empathetic way, an understanding way.
I like what you said about you see somebody else who understands how you feel or how you felt. It's something I've always thought, that we are also alone, and that's why we are always walking towards each other, trying to be a society, trying to fall in love, trying to have friends. And we are all just looking for people to understand us.
True.
Because, like I said, your feelings, I don't know what you're feeling, you don't know what I'm feeling. So basically that means you are alone, conceptually, with your feeling, you are alone, and I don't know, for some reason we don't like being alone. I don't know why. Everybody wants to be like, even those guys, even the most evil people, you hear somebody who is a narcissist, and he is a narcissist, evil person, and he's a narcissist in his family. So that means he wants the people to support him in his family. You have a psychopath, and they're trying to have control over people. And they're trying to have control over people because they want those people to be on their side. I don't know, I have never heard of somebody who is just okay to be totally alone, not part of society, not part of family, not part of anything, just alone.
So the no man is an island, I guess.
No man is an island.
We are a social being, and maybe we don't want the whole world around us, but you do want someone or some people around you, or even if it's fictional characters that feel like they understand you, or you understand each other or you feel yourself reflect. And the fact that that story is written by a person means that somewhere across the world there's somebody who understands, and you might never speak to them, but it counts for something.
So literature brings people together.
It does.
It brings me and you, me, you are reader, and you, the writer.
Yeah.
We are connected through the story you've written. But me and other readers are also connected
through the story. Yes.
And we create communities of readers.
Book clubs have been born. Yeah. So I think it makes the world a better place.
Have you ever written fan fiction?
No, I haven't.
Have you ever read fan fiction?
No. Should I?
Have you heard of it?
Yes, I have. Fan fiction, yeah.
Yeah, I used to read fan fiction, but it's a long time ago.
Okay.
And I remember being thrilled by it. It's a fan will read your book, and then they'll be like, what if this character fell in love with this other character, or what if this character was in this situation?
Yeah.
So basically, they write the story they wish you had written.
Based off of your character.
Based off your characters and your settings.
That's something I'd read. But for books I have read.
Yeah, there are websites for that. I don't know if people still do it. Yeah. But I remember like when I was like 18, 19, I discovered this website which had fan fiction for Harry Potter. I had read those books, so I read some of them. Yeah. And some TV shows as well. Okay. So fan fiction, I've even seen fan fiction for Game of Thrones. Okay. Yeah, so I always wonder, why don't we have a fan fiction community here?
We should.
You know, I would want to see the very young writers. You know, if you love a certain book, like by Ngogi wa Thiong'o or by somebody, you do a fan fiction. I feel that fan fiction in the West has given those writers there a good starting point of writing stories that actually are loved by readers. Yeah. Because that's something I like. For instance, the 50 Shades of Grey. I heard it was fan fiction of Twilight.
Oh, okay.
Initially, So there are a lot of writers in the West coming out that way. They write fan fiction, and then they finally graduate to now writing their own stories. So it's like a pipeline. Yeah. So I feel that we don't have that here.
I don't think I have.
We don't have that. Yeah. And that makes me go to the publishing industry. We have the self-publishing and the mainstream publishing. And the mainstream publishing, unfortunately, is wedded to the school market and to the government through the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. So what happens is that a lot of the books that they are producing are not interesting. They are good in the sense of they have morals, they have themes, but for you as a reader, probably you wouldn't find them that interesting. And I compare that with the books they used to produce before. When is the last time they produced a book like My Life in Crime? I don't know if they would do that today, because you see, My Life in Crime is a book about a robber, written by a robber from the point of view of a robber, and it glorifies the robbing. Well, there is consequences because later he ends up in prison and so forth, and he says crime is bad and so forth. But the book is written in such a way that the crime aspects of it are the most exciting aspects. So it's adventurous. I don't see them doing such books today.
I don't think so. I don't think we have, because there's always one project or another with the government unrolling, unveiling new readers and whatnot. So I don't think they have a moment to. I don't think they've even investigated the reading market in this country and beyond, because we consume a lot of Nigerian literature. We consume a lot of other African writing, but we don't, unless it's the self-published books, we do not have that kind of writing going out there into the world, which is unfortunate, because I think if we're reading that much from the rest of Africa, then we should be putting our books out there too, because we do have good writing.
Yeah. And when I think about that, it makes me feel that the market we have here is, you can't compare it to the West African market. Like, they are producing books that are actually exciting, that people actually want to read.
Yeah.
So the books, maybe a lot of the writers here in Kenya, they're forced to do self-publishing.
Yes.
And you've done self-publishing.
I have, yeah.
But the problem with self-publishing is you don't have enough of a distribution and marketing budget.
Yeah.
So it means your book almost doesn't exist. Because if 1,000 people read your book, less 500 to 1,000, if it's that number, given 10 years, it's forgotten.
Yeah.
So I feel a book needs to go out into the market and be read by thousands of people, and then 10 years from now it's still around. People are still talking about it.
Yeah.
West African market has that.
It
Yeah.
does.
The West,
Yeah.
US and elsewhere, they have that.
Yeah.
Our books don't have that unless you are writing for the school market. But then if you are writing for the school market, for the ones who are writing for the curriculum, it means you have to dumb down your writing, or you have
to be consumerable
to
in
be
the opinion of the publisher.
So according to the publisher, children should not read stories that are a certain way. Maybe they need to have a certain morals, certain themes. Characters cannot be bad boys, which makes me wonder. Barbara Kimenye wrote the Moses series, and Moses is a bad boy, Moses and King Kong. Would Barbara Kimenye be published today? Probably for the school market?
Yeah. Are those books even in the schools? Like, where, unless you go to a bookstore or to a publisher and get it, I don't think it's the kind of thing they put in the system. I remember, I think if you have a conversation with a lot of people right now, they say, oh, I haven't read a book since high school. I hated those books, because the books that we had in the curriculum were really, they had like chipped at it so much to fit the classroom, or in the idea they had of what should be in the classroom. And then you read this book over and over and over for 4 years. It's your set book. You go do the exam on it, and I don't know, it sort of took the excitement of reading out of literature for a lot of people who still use that as a reason or an excuse not to have ever read a book. That, like, I hated the set book, it was boring. Of course, there's always an agenda or like some moral theme or a certain theme it's trying to push, so it's repeated over and over until it feels like, how is this fun? How is this entertaining? How is this imaginative? So I think we need to allow for other books to be accessible, first of all, to students. Yeah, it's good to have a set book, maybe understand the aspects of literature and the interpretation of literature and whatnot, but also have other books. I think a lot of schools, I think for the most time, the library in my school was closed. We had like an hour of library session, but most of the books in there were also textbooks. So there wasn't any fiction. There wasn't a lot of fiction that you could read. And yeah, I think there should actually be time for kids to read a book that is not the set book.
So actually each school should have a library?
Yes. It's very important. It's a school.
My primary school didn't have a library.
Mine neither.
I think my high school had a library, but my primary school didn't have a library.
There's no library, and there was no time to read. It's like schoolwork, and then you have break time, and even if you wanted to maybe stay back in class and read whatever book you have, if you have a book. Playtime is also important, especially in primary school, but there should be an allocated time for reading.
This is interesting because when politicians and all these well-wishers go to schools to do
Yeah.
projects in schools, they mostly go there to build computer labs, things
Yep.
like that.
Mhm.
Computers are the future.
Yeah.
I rarely hear them building libraries,
Yeah.
buying books.
Mhm.
But actually, that might be even more important.
Yes. I think it would be. In my opinion, I would advocate for a library because these are children. Their brains and their minds are building. Their curiosity, their sense of adventure. There's a lot about them that is growing, and books inspire that. I think if they had libraries, we would have a lot people who can think better, communicate better, express themselves better. I think books develop all of that, especially in a child. So maybe libraries, and then we can get to the computer labs. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were a kid, and you used to read, would you say that the sort of books maybe you hear, you see, I know you've worked in the curriculum,
Yeah.
and there are certain maybe instructions you've been given. Would you say that the sort of output that can generate is going to suit your memory of how you were as a kid and what you wanted to read? Would it have fed your spirit that was hungry for exciting stories?
I don't think so. I think there's no problem, I have no problem with having themes for a story, but there's a way we communicate that takes it's like out there on the page. We don't put a lot of creativity into communicating some of these things, and I think it's because of the rules around it. And you find kids reading the things you don't expect to find them reading, and they still enjoy it. So I think we should focus more on building the curiosity of the child, and not, we want to raise kids who are disciplined and obedient and committed and whatnot. But maybe when they're that young, we should focus on their sense of adventure, their curiosity, and just building a good story that will have them wanting to read another book. Yeah.
You also write poetry.
I do.
And that's a whole other different kettle of fish. A lot of people don't enjoy reading poetry. And like, when did you start enjoying reading poetry yourself?
There was it doesn't have a cover. I still have that book in my library. So I don't know what the title of the book is, because it's just it was a torn book, but it had some of those what's it called? The papyrus reed. What was that poem? I don't remember, but that's the first poetry book I read. But I wasn't thinking of writing poems at that time. So when I started writing poems, it was more like, I remember writing poems about my baby sister when she was very little, writing about her hair and how she giggled and whatnot.
How old were you?
How old was I?
Okay, what
I was a teenager.
age was high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
High school. Actually, just exiting primary school, because that was in 2008. So, and then I don't think I knew those were poems I was writing, really. It was just like, well, we'd read poems in class and whatnot, but when I was writing it, I wasn't thinking that I am writing a poem. I was just writing. And then when I got to high school, I had this pile of poetry collection that I lost when I got to the university. But I think I was mostly writing about things outside of myself. And I was writing a lot of poetry then. And then it became more internal, like more experiences, more reflections, more thoughts. So it has grown over time to, I wish I had some of my earlier works to compare it with, but most at that time it was mostly handwriting because I didn't have a laptop or a phone to write on. So they were all in a book, 2 books actually, both of which I lost. So yeah, I think I have been writing poetry for so long, even before I knew I was writing poetry.
So were you reading poetry before you started writing poetry?
Not deliberately, not as much. So there's that one poetry collection that was in the house that I read. Then now, of course, I'm consciously reading poems. I read I started reading poetry like deliberately, I think, when I was at the university, and I would read, and then sometimes I'd read a book that would mention a certain poet. I'd be curious to go like find them out and then read their work. So now I am deliberately reading poems or poetry. And yeah, I have read a bunch of Dickinson, Sylvia Plath, what's the name? Robert Frost, because those ones that you can easily find online. And I subscribe to a lot of poetry newsletters that are constantly sending like poems from new poets or new writers. And I love Unia's collection. So yeah, I think I'm deliberately consuming a lot of poetry these days, and I love it. Vincent de Paul also has amazing poetry that he writes. So yeah.
I'm curious. You said that you started reading poetry after you started writing poetry. Yeah. So you are reading poetry to get better at writing poetry?
No, I just love reading poetry. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if it influences how I write my poems. I don't think so. Yeah.
What's the appeal of poetry?
It gives you something that long prose doesn't, I think, because most of them are very emotive, and I don't know, I cannot express what it is, but I do really enjoy reading poetry. Yeah. And there's a lot of poems now are not following the standard, like how poetry used to be written and whatnot. But I don't think it matters how it's written. Well, for a lot of, you go way back, and some of those poems are, there's just a feeling they leave you with, and it's instant because it's a very short piece, and you read it and you're there. Feelings again. I am all about feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, that's the thing again.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Yes, yeah.
It's the same thing, yeah?
Yeah. And it's instant. It's, it's
poetry,
right there.
Poetry. If prose is wine, poetry is cocaine.
I don't know what cocaine feels like, but
no, I mean, like, it's instant.
Yes. Yeah. You sniff and you go.
Is that how you take cocaine? Is that how it's taken?
I have
sniff?
Seen. Yes, I think so. Yes. So okay. Yeah, I think it's how instant it is. It's how it's something you can consume in an instant. I don't like reading like a whole poetry collection in one sitting. I'll read a poem or two, go about my day, and then because you can read it in one sitting, but I don't think that is the purpose of a poetry collection or anthology.
I have a problem with that because if you just read one poem, then you feel like, I like when I'm reading something to read it. So if it's a book, I will read all the poems. But now, like you said, you may not get a lot if you just read all the poems all at once. Maybe I should learn how to read a poem a day.
Because again, if maybe you're reading a novel, the stories are tied, so you need to keep going to keep the momentum. But with a poem, it's one poem. It's about and the next poem is not going to be about the same thing. So you're not left thinking what next. You have everything in that 4 stanzas. You're good to go. Yeah.
So for the reader, for the general reader, who wants to read poetry or who doesn't read poetry, that's the appeal. We tell them, if you learn how to read poetry, do you have to learn how to read poetry?
If you know how to read, I think you already know how to read poetry.
Because I didn't start reading poetry until I was in Form 3, Form 4.
Okay.
And the only reason I got interested in poetry, there was a time the Kiswahili teacher told us to write a poem. I had never written a poem, so I wrote a poem in Kiswahili. And then after that I thought, I could try writing in English.
Okay.
So I started trying writing poetry. And out of that I thought, maybe I can read poetry. Like I had that book. I had the book, but I never read it because I wasn't interested in poetry. So I started reading it. But poetry initially, for a lot of people, is very hard.
Yeah. I think it's the thought that, especially because when we were learning poetry in school, you're told, what's the mood? What's the theme? Who's the persona?
No, poetry can be hard. Your poetry is easy to read.
I'm glad to hear that.
It's easy to read and it's deep still. It can be easy but not deep.
Yeah.
So yours is easy to read but deep. But there are poetry which is written, reading it is almost like solving a crossword puzzle.
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot of the great poets, you read, and then first of all you're asking yourself, what's happening here? You don't even know who is this, what is happening. Even the connection between the lines, and then as you're reading, your eyes glaze over. So you've finished the poem, but you don't know what you've read. I find that with a lot of poems. Yeah, and that's why people say it's hard to read.
But
do you have that problem?
There are certain poems I've read and I'm like, I'm not sure what I have read here, or how to interpret it. But there's also, I think it's the same with other books too. There's poetry that is difficult, or there's books that some people find difficult to read or that you struggle with, but then there are books that are easy to read. So it's not all poetry that is hard to read. So you can always find something consumable for you.
Is there something like a poetry IQ? Like
I am not sure.
No, I mean you when you start, you can start with very simple poetry, but as your poetry IQ rises, you'll now read those difficult poems.
I don't know, honestly. I'm not sure.
No, like for you, your experience, were you always able to read all poems?
Not all poems.
Or did it develop over time? Like your ability to read good
I think
poetry?
Even reading fiction sort of enhances my understanding of certain poems or certain poetry. I took a literature course, history of literature or something, and it was a lot about like the authors' lives and a bit of their work, but it gives you this behind the curtain sort of thing into this writers that you've always read but never known much about maybe. And I feel like understanding a little bit of that helps. So the more you read or understand, I don't want to say the older you get, but it's like the more you read, the more you broaden your consumption of literature, the easier some poems that felt difficult feel with time. But I don't know if you have to, like, if you sit there thinking, then I don't want it to be like something you have to think about and sit there thinking, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to do this unless I do this and this and this. Go about your life, read the books you read. I know a lot of people now are advocating for reading books you enjoy and not forcing yourself to read a book because it's what people are reading or it's what you should be reading. And or if you don't like a book, then don't read it. Like if you start reading it and you realize you don't like it, that's something I want to learn eventually. But yeah, I think there's a lot of poetry, there's a lot of literature out there. I'm sure you'll find something that is enjoyable to you. Yeah.
So you've talked about reading the books you're supposed to read. Reading the books you love as opposed to the ones you're supposed to read. But you've told me that you yourself just read, and when you start a book, you can't stop reading.
Yeah.
You don't.
That is a struggle. Like, but I think I know that at the end of the book, however long it takes, I am bound to come out with something. So it's that desire to find out what it is that I think drives me to finish even a book that I'm not particularly enjoying. Yeah, so I don't think that would be easy for everyone, but if it is something one can do, then oh well.
So we have technology today, distractions all over. Very entertaining distractions.
Yeah, true.
More entertaining than books. This TikTok, is YouTube. You said poetry is like cocaine. You know, TikTok is even more. So yeah, there's even if you like deep things like poetry, there's even TikTokers who do deep stuff. You know, like you watch the TikTok, it's deep.
Yeah.
You could listen to a podcast. Like there are all these other things. Yeah. And of course there's social media, there's Twitter, there's Facebook, there's WhatsApp. And you want to read a book, but all these other things are calling you. How do you fight that, or is your desire to read just stronger than these other distractions?
I think it's a very deliberate choice. Like right now, I'm not on social media. I haven't been for the past month. I decided to take time off social media the last 3 months of the year. For me, it was like to focus more on writing, because I knew there's like sometimes I don't know, there's just this pull to you know, you answer a call and then before you know it, you're deep down a rabbit hole somewhere on social media. So I'm like, I can, you know, have a bit of self-control and decide I'm not on social media for 2 hours. I can focus on writing, whereas like, how about I eliminate it altogether and focus. But for my reading habit has always been, I read every day before bed, because so that it's the last thing I do before I go to sleep. And I think if as much as social media is there and you have entertaining things, it's a deliberate choice to read. And I think you need to know what you're looking for in books. I love books, especially because they're not there's no distraction on there. No one is trying to sell me anything on the page, like unless I'm reading a book about products I should buy or something. If I'm reading fiction, there's not going to be a pop-up about, I don't know, whatever new phone is in the market. So I love that when I am with a book, it is just the two of us and this story before me. So I think you have to you have to make a deliberate decision or a deliberate choice, a conscious decision to dedicate certain hours. Nobody's asking you to read every time. If you can, well and good, but just dedicate certain hours of the day or of the week to reading. And it takes your mind off of things. As much as social media is entertaining, there's also a lot of information coming at you from every part of the world, and it can be overwhelming. For me, at least, I know it is. So I prefer to this is my chosen information for the next 2 hours, these parts of the evening. So yeah.
Do you have a parting shot?
Do I have a parting shot? I think the point is to read. And these days I think I have taken to asking people it's important to be learning, to be growing, to be informing yourself as much as you can, both for personal development and other reasons. Because I think if you want to grow in your career, it's also, that's something you can dedicate your time to. You should also take time to develop yourself as a person. So personal development is really important to me. And that could be just cultivating new habits. There are things you don't like in yourself that you keep doing. So I'm like, it's difficult to change certain things, but then it's very doable. So I think it's to cultivate whatever habits you find admirable. Reading to me is one of them, but I also know it's not the only way you can get information or gain knowledge. So people listen to audiobooks, they watch documentaries, they read papers and whatnot. So do something to be better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there something next we can expect from you?
Yes.
That you are ready to tell people?
No, there's nothing I'm ready. I'm glad you said ready to tell people, because I am working on things, but there's nothing concrete yet. But as soon as I have information, I'll be able to.
You let us know.
Yes, I will let you know. Yeah.
And thank you so much for showing up and for the conversation.
So thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Yeah.
That is Conversations in Literature. We had Munira Hussein with us today, and until next time, this is Conversations in Literature. Subscribe. I was your host today, as always, Eric Rugara. Some people call me Miyamoto Muswahili, and we'll be here again with more episodes. Subscribe. Conversations in Literature is sponsored by Nairobi Academic Press.